Now, a powerful earthquake has hit Albania. The Defence Ministry reports that at least 6 people have died. The 6.4 magnitude quake struck just north of the capital, Tirana. A number of aftershocks have been felt and the authorities have called on people to stay outside. We can now speak to Besar Likmeta, who's a journalist and editor of BIRN Albania. That's the Balkan Investigative Reporting Network. Thanks for talking to us. Give us an idea then of how extensive the damage is.
Well, the damage is quite extensive across central Albania. Emergency crews are still digging with their hands and with heavy equipment in the village of Thumane, close to the epicenter where 2 buildings collapsed. Also in the portal town of portal city of Durrës, there is another collapsed building, and they are still looking for survivors out there.
And what sort of area has been most significantly affected? Is it a densely populated area, or because it's some way out of the capital, is it more sparsely populated?
It is a very densely populated area. The triangle between the city of Durrës and Tirana, it's the most populated area of Albania, where 1/3 of the population lives. So all this area has been affected, and the earthquake has been felt as far as the Serbian city of Novi Sad, all across the region and the Balkans.
I mean, it's sad to say, but often in the early stages of an earthquake, the casualty figures are quite low and they steadily rise. Do you expect the death toll to rise in this instance?
Unfortunately, with the collapsed buildings and the work with the emergency crew still ongoing, the fear is that the casualty figures will rise. But people are still hoping for miracles, and the work is continuing to save as many people as possible.
Now, it wasn't that long ago, was it, that Albania had another earthquake, smaller than this one. It was in September. That suggests, therefore, that there is a level of preparedness amongst the authorities. Would you agree?
Exactly. I mean, the reaction of the emergency crews that we saw in the capital today, but also in the coastal town of Durrës, was much higher, much more preparedness compared to the earthquake in September. So this may help, in a sense, aid to the rescue, considering that this earthquake is more significant than the one in September.
And what happens to communities when there is an earthquake like this? And obviously this one is more powerful than the last one in September. But what do communities do? Do they gather together? Do they heed the advice and stay out of buildings? Where do they go?
Well, the first response is panic, and everybody came out of the buildings in the capital, Tirana, where I sit. And people stayed outside, spending the night, the early morning or late night, because the earthquake hit at 5 o'clock, in bars, so they could escape the aftershocks, but also come together and relieve a little bit the stress. There has been response by the authorities. There has been calls to stay outside. The schools have been closed. And there is also messages of solidarity being sent out by lay people, but also by the heads of state.
Besar Likmeta, thank you very much indeed for bringing us right up to speed with the situation in Albania today. Thanks.